Welcome to the Sleeping Barber Podcast.
It's time for the Post Pod with your
Post Pod.
Marc and V. I don't know.
Yeah, it worked. I like it. It's
Well, we could
very,
just cut it.
it's understated. It's really great. It's very you. It's very now.
It's very now in the moment. TV.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I kept thinking back to our conversation with Pierre while this was going on.
100%.
And yeah, there's so much we get caught up, or I do anyway, for sure, in a lot of the digital stuff. And then you're kind of sitting back here going, oh, yeah, like, I don't know, a seventh of the world just watched a whole bunch of commercials on a television set because it was a moment in time. And like,
Totally.
yeah, maybe there's something there to the TV thing.
Yeah, there's something there, of course.
I know it's understated, but it's, yeah, there's so much great stuff that's like, I get excited thinking about TV because of that opportunity we talked to her about at the end, where you don't need to have a giant budget to make a pretty valuable impact. Yeah.
I know, and I completely agree. I think what for me really kind of stood out is I think we forget, and you would have remembered this, like if you were or are a traditional, cable or linear kind of user, there's a lot of channels that you're navigating, and naturally that does create fragmentation. And I think we look at today's state as being fragmented. The reality is it's always been fragmented. Nothing's changed. Yeah. Some behaviors have changed, but the fragmentation still exists, which I think was an interesting way of looking at the evolving space that is, TV. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say nothing's changed. A lot has changed, but some of the issues or the problems that marketers face still exist. It's not that much different. There's just a little bit where people are consuming is different.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good point. Because when like that joke, or not a joke, but there was a real story about me being the remote control. Like back then, the reach wasn't nearly as big as what it was, as what it is today. Yeah. So you, on one hand, you're trading off, I don't know, like a mono audience with 13 channels, but not a very big audience, probably. No. Yeah. Because also, I mean, that was back in the day when they had like Wild World of Sports.
That's right.
Like on Saturday afternoons, like there wasn't anything remotely like TSN, know?
No.
And so now you have all these specialty channels and specialty content, specialty programming, and you can target a lot of that kind of stuff. And the contextual targeting, I think, is really appealing. And the ability to like reach so many more people through these individual placements is kind of fascinating.
Man, I completely agree. Just think about all the contextual, and like, let's just look at our podcast, for instance, as well. Like there's so many podcasts out there. They're specialized in a specific area, a specific theme that, again, for advertisers poses another, area of targeting, quote unquote targeting. Like we have more access to targeting capabilities than ever before. But again, I think where my point was going on the fragmentation side is like, as the space evolved, we just had, it became fragmented because everyone was trying to get into against those same audiences. And so it created naturally, companies would want to create more programming, right? So more shows, and to take in a lot of this demand from an advertising perspective. Then we got to the point where like cable TV had over 300 channels that outside of the like maybe 10 that you would watch routinely, you didn't even know what else you had.
Yeah. Yeah. And I like when I was in broadcast media, like we sold out of stuff a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's a good, bad thing. I don't know that you ever sell out anymore, but there is so much more opportunity. And the part I loved about what Angela was saying with the pre-testing is that you've got this now. To me, what is especially exciting, it's not even so much of the pipes. It's the thing that you put into the pipe that really is what's going to drive the impact. Yeah. And so having the ability to say, this is our objective, and before we make any big bet on a piece of creative, like, let's run some tests, see which of these ideas is going to better deliver on that.
Yeah.
I don't know that you ever completely eliminate the risk, but man, it sure is better than just rolling the dice.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Like System 1, obviously the system that, Marketing Architects has as well, like anything that you can do to kind of give yourself an edge, you do it. Like, especially if you think about the millions that are going into some of these large campaigns, you don't want it to be a wag. So you need to be with relative confidence that this is going to resonate with the audience you're going to go to.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other thing for me that really stood out, and maybe I belabored a little bit too much, but I was honestly, I did not expect this. So the idea of frequency of one against a high intent audience, that fundamentally changes the way that I perceive not only the channel from an effectiveness perspective, because if we use, and I know you and I agree that the funnel in traditional sense doesn't exist, right? But humor me for a moment.
Yeah.
When you think about awareness, consideration, conversion, another area where, TV that routinely doesn't play is in that consideration state, because usually it's like reserved for broad awareness, high awareness. That's where TV lives. But the moment you add a high intent audience against that medium and you make it a frequency of one, guess what? For me, that's a consideration state, because they already know who you are. They already know about your product and service. Now you're just playing that reminder. So as a performance marketer, my mind's like, okay, wait a second here. Always on, let's think about maximizing that reach against that high intent audience with with the first impression kind of look, or the frequency of one.
Yeah.
I think changes the way that I perceive now how I can use that medium from a more performance lens to help drive, again, your total digital program.
No, it's a good call. I think the term performance is, it's laden with a whole bunch of meaning that might not actually be real.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I think we've talked to Ty about this way back when, but performance branding, and that's where I'm leaning to with the reach optimization of one, or frequency of one. Like there's performance behind that. But 100%. If you're looking at an exclusive like last click attribution model, you'll never see a view through.
No.
And you'll never consider a view through as being performance. And yet I've said this story a few times, but there's the old sales guy that I used to work with who's like, see all these leads? These are great leads. They've never visited our website.
Yeah.
And you know how I know they're great leads? They pick up the phone when I call them.
Yeah.
There's things that we're measuring performance against that are only performance because we can see it happening.
Totally.
On the channel that is in front of us, the computer screen in front of us.
I agree, man.
Yeah, like it's really interesting, because then you're also looking at, well, if you're only using a last click model or retargeting as your performance metric, right? Or your ROAS, you're missing out on a whole bunch of people that haven't visited your website and are in market. And so there's a whole component of like reach being a critical component of delivering ROAS.
Totally. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Right?
What a moment.
What a moment, man. That pause was for effect, everyone. You're trying to drive that point home.
Yeah. I also liked what Angela was saying with the micro, macro, and business impacts.
Yeah. Love that.
Because it speaks about the time frames. And I think as far as performance goes, I think that's actually a really good way of considering performance.
Yeah.
In terms of like, there's the short term right away. Yeah, we can track that. There's the macro, what happens a couple months later. And then the business impacts that you're looking for, the incrementality and that kind of stuff, which might take 3, 5, 6, 9 months, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Depending on the sales cycle, probably as well for a lot of those businesses, like that hair restoration she was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. That or the snacking. I know I feel like I'm peckish all the time, so I don't need to be reminded that I could use a snack. But no, I think, again, it really kind of, I'm a big fan of frameworks, but this one I think is a great one to kind of like think about, well, how are we going to measure this? Yes, there's the micro impacts in the moment, the macro, then the total business impact. And I think the way you can position that internally do business is like, here's what we're measuring in the moment. Here's what we're measuring in the short term. Here's what how we're measuring total business impact, where we believe this campaign is going to provide, say, that halo effect for the next 6 months, right? Or whatever the case is for everyone. But I really do. I love that.
Yeah.
What else? Is there anything else that stood out for you?
I'm just looking over my notes here. Yeah, well, the one thing that we talked about with the creative, and this is specific to the Super Bowl ones, but we talked a little bit about it with the Clydesdales.
Yeah.
Like, there's things that I think are really great about having a Tom Brady in your commercial, or I was trying to write them all down. Like that Uber Eats one, they had Victoria Beckham, David Beckham, David Schwimmer, Jennifer Jessica Aniston.
Jessica Aniston.
I can't remember if there's other people, but you also get into this component where or this idea that like, well, if we get a celebrity, we can get more attention. And that might be the case. But if you think about watch brands, like they all have a celebrity endorsement and they all are like the exact, I mean, there's a guy wearing a watch and they, I don't know if it's George Clooney or Hugh Jackman or whoever the thing, like, I don't know what the watch is. I'm more aware that it's that character. And same thing with Uber or all these other ads. They can afford having big celebrities. But I sometimes feel like the celebrity angle might be more detrimental to the creative because you favor the celebrity over the brand. And so I think there's lots of really cool opportunities just on the ability to be creative and not have the constraints of like a big budget, meaning we have to go find a celebrity to endorse this.
I'm with you, but I think just out of their pre-testing, it showcased that so it was the Budweiser commercial, the Clydesdales, and what was the second one? I don't remember what the second beer one was, but both of them didn't feature a celebrity. And I guess she made the argument that maybe the Clydesdales are like the celebrity in the Bud ad, but in not a traditional sense.
Yeah, but that's the part about like the distinctive brand assets to me, where it's like the Clydesdales are the celebrity, and you always think about Bud with the Clydesdales.
Yeah,
yeah.
And I think you're 100% on. Like, you have to be very careful if you're going down the celebrity route. You got to be very, very careful on how they help bring the product to life, and that their personal brand does not overpower your brand. Right. And I think that's where, like in your watch examples, like think about all the F1 drivers, like they all have watches as well. I couldn't tell you which one each one promotes.
Yeah. I know Verstappen's got one of them, but I don't know which one.
Lewis Hamilton has one. Like, I'm sure, like, I just don't know. Right.
Yeah.
I just know they're expensive.
Well, and the recall part on that too. Yeah, totally. Like, I know George Clooney's got one too, but I don't know which one. And then as soon as I think of George Clooney, I think of the coffee machines. Yeah.
I know.
So then it's all of a sudden lost on me that he's even promoting a watch.
Oh, right. We're talking about watches.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Anyway, there's like a lot of really good stuff about having no budget to do some of the things that we're talking about, because you're not as restricted to like a standard way of doing things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, at the end of the day, what I loved is, towards the end where she kind of talked about, you need to make sure that you're leaning into the blend, right? I think at the end of the day, same thing that Pierre was telling us, like it's the power of the, essentially, the balance that you want to create, especially across all your media, genuinely having a multi-channel strategy that's omni-channel.
Yeah.
But I think like with TV, like I don't want to say feeling the pressure, but like be opportunistic, be bold. It can drive a lot of mental availability for you. Don't play it safe all the time. I think it's easy for marketers to kind of get into that cadence of, hey, try, test it and truth. This has worked in the past.
Yeah.
It's not broken. Don't try to fix it. But I think TV still warrants that opportunistic, entrepreneurial nature, and I think that sometimes it's lost a little bit amongst us.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it was a great conversation. I really enjoyed chatting with her.
No, it was great. Like you said, it reminded me a lot about like a lot of Pierre's conversation. You know, the resurgence of radio at the time, but here it's like rethinking even TV in a more traditional sense from a performance perspective. I think for me it was a great conversation all in all.
Yeah. Okay, V. Well, what's coming up next?
Well, first of all, we're gonna all go chase profitability.
Oh,
That's
right.
what we do.
Yeah. Check.
Coming up next, I think we have a barber's brief, and then in between that, I think we have Herman. We have Herman back.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Right?
Yep. Well, we recorded them. I just can't remember the order of which we.
You put me on the spot there, man. I don't have the calendar in front of me.
Well, I just more meant that you were going to chase profitability. I was trying to cue you for that, but I like it. You're right. We do have Herman coming. And actually, we have another one. Well, I don't. Yeah. We're recording tomorrow, and I'm really excited about that one as well. So there's a lot of good ones coming up. Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. By the way, if not UV, but you listener, we've been doing this a bit more, but yeah, if you have questions, you have topics, you have thoughts, you have ideas you want to share with us for us to reach out to people or topics to look into, let us know. We'd really appreciate it. And likes or reviews are also really awesome because
we do appreciate them.
Yeah, it's good for us. We just really want to get better.
But we're gonna treat it like an NPS model. If you can't put a minimum at 4, then don't put anything at all.
NPS.
Reach out to us first, and then we'll talk about the rating.
Okay, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right, buddy. Have a great day.
You too. Bye.